I understand that. I understand that. But you haven't complied with my request for DNA test either, and that's my key. Is that if I have an obligation, I like to make sure it is my obligation and not the obligation of some other father.
We need to bring back shame. You want child support, yet you don't want to prove to the man that he is the father. This is what we used to call in the past.
All right. You brought this case before the court. What's going on?
I'm seeking child support and back pay from this man.
Okay, just straightforward. That's what I like. Just get right into it. How old is the child?
The child is now 3 years old.
3 years old.
And I have not received any child support.
In 3 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So for 3 years, she chose to play difficult.
All right. Sir, is there a reason you haven't given her any child support in the past 3 years?
Yes, ma'am, there is.
What is that?
We've been discussing the paternity obligation.
One of the most evil things you can do to a man is to trick him into raising a child that is not his. Men generally don't have problems raising children that are not theirs. We just have to be the ones to decide to raise them. The deception is the thing we despise.
Okay.
Under the circumstances, you know, I don't think I was the only person having a fling with Rocky at the time that you know, she and I had that time together. And,
excuse me? Are you implying something?
Well, what I'm trying to say is that I understand that you may have been seeing some other people in addition to me. You haven't complied with my request for DNA test, and that's my key, is that if I have an obligation, I like to make sure it is my obligation and not the obligation of some other father.
According to the man, he claimed that she was not only sexually active with him at the time when they were having relations. In the video, she felt insulted, but at the same time, she did not deny the accusation. So she chose not to do the test out of either pride or maybe she's just not sure.
I like to make sure it is my obligation and not the obligation of some other father.
Well, maybe you should have been obligated to your wife whenever you were having an affair with me.
You know, you're right about that. And honest truth is
you are
that,
admitting that you're married?
Yes.
This man crossed the line when he stepped out on his marriage. He was married when he was having relations with this lady. The amount of hurt that resulted in this whole relationship will be more than the amount of pleasure that he must have gained when he had relations with this lady. It's never a good thing to step outside the bounds of your marriage covenant. Misery and curses abound. When we go against our marriage vows, we go against both the people who were there and also God who was present when we made these vows.
You didn't tell me you were married until after.
That's correct. That's correct. I did not tell you.
According to her, she didn't know that he was married during this whole process, but that is not an excuse, in my opinion. She had no covenant with him, so she should not be sleeping with him. Call me old-fashioned all you want. I am a Christian.
I'm not trying to be hard-hearted, so to speak, about this, but I think that there's some other questions that need to be answered before we agree on paying any kind of support, because at this point, we haven't confirmed whose child this is.
One thing I say I appreciate about this man is the fact that he is willing to take care of the child if it is proven that the child is his. He's not trying to avoid responsibilities. He claims his wife already knows about the whole affair.
He's in denial about his affair and doesn't want his wife to find out.
My wife knows.
Oh,
Yeah,
she
right.
knows now.
He's lying.
You told her?
I would have heard from her by now. I work with him, ma'am.
Oh. At the welding place?
I'm a receptionist there. That's how we met.
You're her direct manager.
At least he has confessed and settled with his wife. That would have been a very hard conversation between him and his wife. And the fact that he's not divorced 3 years later, it shows how much of an angel the wife is. I'm not saying there was no fight between them, but rather they chose to work it out rather than separate. But the lady herself doesn't believe that the wife knows. Me personally, I believe the man because I don't think he will come to a public court to expose his whole matter if his wife does not know. According to the lady, she claims that they work in the same place. Just because they work in the same place as you doesn't mean it is good for you to have relations with them. Avoid all office flings and relationships. It never ends well. You end up regretting it. And when everything falls through, you will have to come in every day seeing this person and interacting with this person. And it's never pleasant if none of you are willing to forgive each other.
Yeah, he's entitled to a DNA test.
Sure.
Okay, so before we can move forward with anything in terms of child support, looking at your financial documents you provided, he first needs to get a DNA test. So what I can do is you guys go and get the DNA test, then you can come back at a later date.
Just like the previous video I did, this again can be solved privately. If only she agreed to swallow her pride and do the test, all this could have been averted. They should have settled this smoothly without getting this on the internet. This child will grow up with this record permanently on the internet. When his peers that are willing to bully him watch this video in the future, they will say, your mom is a slut, your dad is a promiscuous husband. This child will be bullied hard by his peers.
Rocky,
You're welcome.
if I have obligations here, I'll stand behind them.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
All I can see here is the man truly cares, and I respect that. I don't condone adulterous relationships, regardless of consent. I only respect covenantal relations. When I say relations, you know what I mean. Flings are not worth the frustration and embarrassment that come back home later to roost. Just avoid them altogether. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like, share this video with somebody that you think will love it, and subscribe. God willing, I'll see you guys and gals later. Bye-bye. Subscribe, subscribe. Please subscribe.